Hello. I would like to inform you that what you're about to listen to are the views and comments from the hosts and guests and only reflect their own views and not the community as a whole. I hope you enjoy the podcast. And Eddie, play that banter section.
This is how bad my organisation has been. So bad. I want to half blame you, Kev. This is.
Oh God.
What do you mean? Oh now? God! Look, I'm recording this podcast today on a Monday. I usually would edit this on a Tuesday, ready for Wednesday. I forgot I'm going to the theatre on Tuesday, so therefore I'm like, shit, I need to record this and get this edited all in one night, possibly. I might change that later, but I'm blaming you because do you know why I forgot?
Why?
Because I was editing those lovely photos in Manchester in your studio.
Oh, okay. I still haven't done mine yet. Yeah.
This is banter, Johnny. This is banter.
This is very well organised banter, I can see.
You have no idea how I literally got my fingers up. Organised this is. It's just I'm pulling the shroud off now. The shroud. Oh. Hello everybody, this is the Talk About Podcast, a weekly podcast on like Comic-Con, cosplay, and everything else. I'm your host, Eddie, and this week we are talking about are photographers becoming ... We'll go into that in a minute. I'll explain what that means. Joining us on the podcast is Johnny from Johnny Shem Photography and Kev of Kev Pack Photography. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me again.
Yeah, you're becoming quite a regular, Kev.
I don't know. That's bad.
Hey, I could do with a co-host sometimes. I really sometimes think I could do with a co-host. But how do you both? What?
It always helps to have a co-host so that who knows what it's talking about. All right.
It really does help if someone can just back me up every so often. Sometimes doing a solo podcast is not great. Oh, Kev, you know how much I go on a tangent sometimes. I just sometimes need reining back a little bit, just reining back. Oh dear
Lord. Or just kick you even further into the tangent.
Thanks, Kev, I think.
Yeah,
Jesus. Let's do a 7-day checkup first, and then I will introduce Johnny in a minute. But let's do the introduction first. Right. So everyone knows Kev. Kev has been on a few times. He's literally part of the furniture now. So wave, Kev. Wave to the boys and girls and everyone in between.
Hello, everybody.
But Johnny's new, and he needs a little an arm around the shoulders. This is his first time podcasting. But I'm going to look after him. You're going to listen and welcome him onto the podcast. So everyone's family here. So
I'm the pod virgin right now. Yeah.
Just be careful. Careful how you say that because I might edit out the word podcast and just leave you just saying you're a virgin. That'd be really bad if I did that.
Good advertising as well, actually. Makes it worthwhile, right?
But yeah, no. So yes. So what was I saying? So usually what I do on these first introductions of people on the podcast, I usually say, "How do we meet?" And as I remember it, we met last year, didn't we? It was we were just I was sitting. I think I sat still, and then you were walking past, and I think I shouted. I said, "Are you Johnny?" And
it seems unlikely that you were sitting still. There you go.
No, I mean, if I remember, I've seen your watermark on so many photos, and it's like a little Chinese stamp, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I didn't mention myself. I'm looking at there's a Chinese photographer somewhere, and I think through a mutual friend, I think it's Bex. Right?
Bex, that is absolutely Bex double X.
Yeah. So I remember you do quite a lot of photos. I'm thinking, okay, so me going to Comic-Con, walking around, and I think there's not many Chinese photographers, and I see you, and I think you was with Bex around that time. I thought that's got to be Eddie. That's got to be Eddie. Oh yeah.
No, I definitely knew who I was with at that time because I remember what the conversation. I kind of half remember the conversation. It wasn't Bex, but it was someone. I was with someone. Yeah, you came up to me and said, "Are you Eddie?" And I always say this. When people come up to me and I don't know who they are, and they go, "Are you Eddie?" I get very, very paranoid, worried they're about to deck me, and I don't know why my body flinches like that. It just happens that way. But it was just
a very guilty conscience.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, how many people have been upset in your life that that's how you had a Comic-Con?
Quite a few. I do admit my mouth runs quicker than my brain, and sometimes I do think, probably I should stop talking. Maybe I should stop talking to people. Maybe I don't know, but
No, it's always good to be straightforward, though. I suppose some people like it,
yeah,
some people don't. So
yeah. So was it last year though? Was it last year?
it may no, I think it would have been roughly about 2022. I would say not last year. I think we met before that.
Yeah, I think because I think I remember 2022 because then because I then didn't see you in the winter one because I was in
No.
America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was 2020. No, not last year.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain still thinks I'm in 2023. But yeah,
Yeah.
so technically 2 years ago in 2022.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
It was the summer one because I remember I was carrying a massive sack of lights and I was struggling to walk back to my car. And I thought, oh, no, it's a Chinese guy. Let me just go stand next to him. So, yeah, that's it. I just took advantage to have a little break as well. So.
But I find it weird you go, oh, there's not many other Chinese photographers. Like, I see them everywhere. Maybe I'm looking at mirrors, but still.
No, there's more and more over now. All of a sudden, I think in the last few years, there's a lot more Chinese cosplayers involved as well now because a lot
Yeah.
more than what I used to see, and then they've got their own photographers, and yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely going that way. And I'm not saying I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know if it's worth talking about that one of these days. I don't know. Is it worth a podcast? Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. So yeah. Oh well, there's John. That's how we met. And we've been. I bump into every sort of. Oh my god! I sneezed on one of your videos.
I know that video is still up. You sneeze with a Chinese accent as well. And I was like, that's definitely my own people.
How did I sneeze? If with a Chinese accent, it's just not possible. It's not
Yeah,
possible.
we have these little like weird sounds, don't we? It was like ayo, ayo. You was like hachui. I was like,
Oh!
whoa. I remember that very
I
well.
blame my parents for that. I blame my parents for that. Oh god. Right, let's do a welfare check. Kev hasn't spoken for a while, so I'm going to let him chat for a little bit. So, Kev, how's the last 7 days? Have you actually recovered since I last spoke to you?
I was trying to think, when did you last speak to me?
Well, technically when I left Manchester.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So we haven't spoken since then. So, yeah. So last time I saw Eddie, he was up here and we did a few shoots. So, yes, I've not actually been back in the studio since then. Just trying to catch up with other chores and things. So, yeah. And I live with a videographer that does a lot of stuff for MegCon Live. So he was off in London one weekend, then up to Dublin for the following weekend, and then being full of cold. So I've just been doing chores around my house and getting all the shopping in and all that sort of stuff. So it's been very, very boring the last 7 days. But the weather's not been lovely outside, so it's nice to stay in and just do little.
No, absolutely. Was he caught in Dublin?
Oh, yes. Yes. He couldn't get home. In fact, I think most of the MegCon Live crew got stranded in Dublin and couldn't get home. So because of the gale. So stuck there overnight and got home a day later than he was supposed to. So
that's good. No, I know a few people.
Good.
No, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like, I was going to say,
you know exactly what it's like to
no,
go
not
to
me.
a con and then get stranded and can't get home.
Both of us know. Both of us know this.
Of course we do. Yeah.
No, because I was going to say, I know someone, CJ. He was there for 4 days.
Well, yeah, because don't forget he was assisting him.
Yeah, I know, but
CJ is working as Brandon's co-host, as co-videographer.
Yeah.
So yeah. Obviously, we're flying into different airports, but no, Brandon was over a day late, so he was supposed to fly home on Sunday, and he got home on Tuesday. So because that's when they could get him on a flight. But I think CJ was even longer before they could get him home.
Yeah, which I found that really strange. But I hope you get.
Well, don't forget though, when we were stuck in the Netherlands, a lot of people were there all week. You know, we were lucky; we got flights the next morning, but a lot of people didn't, did they?
No. Yeah, because I was a mutual friend of ours, Ingrid. She got trapped for 4 days, I think.
Yeah. So it does happen. It just, if you're lucky and quick and get on the first flights, booked, then you can get home. Otherwise, if you're a bit later and whichever airline you are dealing with takes a bit more time, you can be stuck with, like Ryanair. You can be stuck with...
Let's not talk about brand names. I'm still looking for sponsors for this podcast.
I don't think Ryanair are going to sponsor you, Eddie. I'm sorry to say.
One of these days, I will get sponsored. One of these days. Anyway, so Johnny, what about yourself? How's the last 7 days for you?
Oh, I would say, well, I'll work 2 jobs. So I'll work in a day job as in a garage doing their media, and then in the evening I'll work in a typical Chinese takeaway. Unfortunately, so last 7 days has just been work for me. But I've quit my day job now. I've actually left, and I've got 3 weeks off, and a freelance for the next few weeks.
Oh.
But apart from that, I think my work will just bore you guys to death. So, yeah.
But also saying that you have been Chinese, having 2 jobs, one working a takeaway and one elsewhere. No, that's just typical for me. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's just like in that Asian blood or some sort. We're just like workaholics, ain't we?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, that's how I was brought up. So I'm a bit traditional. Unfortunately, I came in a generation where, my parents would just like work 24/7, and I think that's where we get that from.
Johnny, I'll tell you something. It's not now that you have to worry about. It's when they retire. Because trust me, one of your parents will go fucking stark raving mad because they've been working so long in a takeaway, and then afterwards, when it stops, they go, "Oh, what do I do with my time? I have no idea. Oh no, what do I do?" So yeah, good enough for that.
I was like that during COVID when COVID started. I think the first 3 days I was already pulling my hair out because I can't be sitting here all day. I need to be out there. I need to be doing something. So yeah, that's Asian blood for you.
Absolutely, yeah. But to be fair, for me, I do not miss the takeaway one little bit. I was so glad to get rid of that takeaway.
That era. It's that generation, don't it? I think that generation, all mostly like Chinese people that come over, all they do is just open up takeaways left, right, and centre, don't they?
I know.
Unless you're selling DVDs on a train station. So,
can I just ask you a quick question? When you do your photography stuff, because obviously, and I'll say this as knowing what the law is or the guidelines at the Comic-Con, as you're not charging for photos at Comic-Con, what do your parents say when you like do all this photography? Because it's not like a side hustle, is it for you, or is it a side hustle for you?
It's more of like a hobby,
right?
My parents don't even know I've got all this equipment. All they know is I've got a camera, but they don't know I've got all these strobe lights, I've got all these flashlights. They're all stashed somewhere else. That's why I don't live at home. They're cramped in a little room with me right now. So my parents, they're too old for social media, so they don't have Facebook, so they don't even know what's going on. So I'd rather keep that away from them rather than, I don't know what they'll say.
I've got to say, my dad took me to my first con, and I went to Japan Expo with him a few years before he passed away, and I think he took more photos than I did. So it was never really an issue on my side of it. But that's not a Chinese family; that's a very, very English family.
I don't even think my parents know that these kind of things exist, such as like Comic-Con. They don't know these kind of things exist. They're too old for that. They never grew up watching cartoons or animes, those kind of stuff. So yeah.
Sorry. This is not going to be an Asian photographers podcast. Kevin will bring in this, but honestly, every time I talk about photography with my parents, it's like, "You're earning money from it." I went, "No, this is a hobby. I have a proper job for this. Then why do you do this?" I went, "Not everything has to earn money, do I?
Are they disappointed you're not a doctor?
You joke about it, but sometimes I look in my mum's eye and I just see a tear inside the tear. It's that, it's that type of thing.
No, my mum is like, she's so traditional. It's like anything you do, you're supposed to earn money. Even if you're helping a friend out, did they pay you? I'm like, no, they're my mates. And then she'll give me this really disapproval look. I'm like, what? It's like, that's how you make friends, Mum. That's why you got no friends. But
God, yes! I want to say the same thing to my mum. Oh my God, yes! Anyway, if anyone knows my mum, please don't tell my mum. Please, just don't. But honestly, every time I cheekily go, "Mom, Dad, can you help me buy me a new camera?" They just look at me like, what the fuck? And I'm going, I'm sorry, but you love me. I'm like your only son. You have a brother. I'm your only son. Your only favourite son. They can look at it. No, you're not. Nah.
That's the thing, though. It's like, my mum knows that I work 2 jobs, and every time she asks me to get something, I'm like, I don't have much money, and she's like, you're working all these hours. Where is your money gone? I'm like, no lens, no flashlights,
Oh,
traveling studio.
oh, trust me. I know the lies you're weaving. It literally, because I swear, every Chinese mother. Sorry, Kev, we will get to the main subject. Every Chinese
I will
mother.
say we're about 18 minutes in now. It started. So, you tell me off for waffling. At the beginning of
I know.
it.
But every Chinese mother, I swear, are internal accountants in their heads. They will go, I gave you this much money, or I gave you this, or where I know you earn this much money from work. Like, where did it all go?
Studios.
Oh, do you want? I'm now becoming like Kev. I now started
What?
buying women's clothes, not for
Oh
me
well, yeah.
though.
Sorry, yes, that is that.
Yeah,
I have joked several times that I own more women's clothes than I do men's clothes, but that's just for stuff in the studio. I
yeah,
hasten to add.
yeah.
I've never tried any of it on. Promise.
No,
Oh,
because
To be honest, you see the size of me, and you see the size of most of the people who are shooting the photography in the studio, and the size of the clothes. I couldn't wear the clothes.
but honestly, but like I said, oh my goodness, the Yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about that. We're like you said, we're 18 minutes in.
That's definitely not the subject of today's podcast.
It really isn't. Really isn't. So, today's podcast, right? So today's podcast, I've titled it "Are Photographers Becoming ... and the ... bit is basically to protect me those who just read the title and trying to cancel me straight away. I don't want to say this word too loudly, but I just think this is. I will admit this really came out of the MCL MicroCon Live London incident, which what I saw, and I just went, "Oh, this is not a good look in my eyes." But I was very in the minority of it. I was like, "Oh, this is weird," and I'm just thinking, our photographers just getting a bit too over ego, or over what's the word? Just I don't want to use the word entitled, but I might have to use that word entitled. Can someone think of a different word for me? I don't know why I'm whispering. It's a audio, but
Karens.
what? Yeah, that's what I don't. What's worse, entitled or Karens? I'm not. Obviously, I know someone's going to hear this and then clip it and then go, "Oh my god, this is what Eddie thinks about us photographers." Like, I am a photographer as well. Like, I'm not. It's not. I'm not exclusively out of this.
I think perhaps people have built up expectations which aren't necessarily right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This is what I want to.
I don't know if that just means you're entitled as such. I think some people have through experiences got a certain expectation, and when that expectation isn't how reality works, they sometimes think, "Hang on a minute, I could do this last time. Why can't I do it this time?" And the fact that
Exactly.
maybe you shouldn't have been doing it last time, or maybe somebody's changing what you can do and what you can't do. At the end of the day, being able to go along somewhere and take pictures is a privilege.
Oh, that's a really good one. No, anyway, look, just in case someone has tripped over this podcast and gone, what are they talking about MegCon London about? What incident? Right. So let me explain the incident, okay? So an incident happened where a photographer put up onto his Instagram story and said, "Oh my god, I got stopped by security saying that my equipment's too professional." And obviously this spread a little bit wildfire amongst us photographers, and everyone was like sharing that story, putting up their own versions of the incident, or maybe on the back of that story, made their own story about it and things like that. And I was one of the few photographers who didn't do that because, one, I wasn't actually a photographer that weekend, which was fine by me. Secondly, I kind of like I wanted to get all the facts first before making a statement because, as Kevin said, there was certain people who probably assumed, and I mentioned this in the MegaCon Live review podcast. People assumed that the whole event was the same version of MCM London, but it wasn't. And the truth slowly came out that MegaCon Live only bought 5 halls for the weekend, whereas MCM Stroke Report buy out the whole venue plus part of the outside. That's why you got that fenced off area. Yes, it's crowded. Yes, it's got lots of people and you can't really move for love nor money and things like that. I get that and all that. But I think there was a certain arrogance. Oh God, do I want to use that word? Should I edit that word out? I'm trying not to cancel myself out by or make enemies by other photographers here.
Karens.
So, I can't use the word Karens. But
offensive to Karens, presumably.
Yeah, I know. But no, because it did like that weekend, like loads of photographers jumped on in social media just to air their grievances. And I'm not saying they're not allowed to do that. I totally understand, because I did say, if this happened to me, if I got stopped by security and went, "Oh, you're not allowed to do this," and I went, "Oh, okay, that's weird." I like to think that I would also sit down and think, "Wait, why am I being stopped? Is there a reason? This is also not MCM. This is MegaCon Live. This is a different set of rules, maybe. Oh, well, maybe I'm in the wrong." No one really.
There is but also, did you read MegaCon Live's response to the incident?
Yes, that's why I said that they only bought the 5 halls. Everything else was like Excel security was.
What they said was that Excel security was a bit, I think, misinterpreting some of their rules. Basically, is what they're saying, and were a bit overzealous.
Yeah,
and it basically should be, their normal rule is that there should be no freestanding equipment.
Yes,
which has been a rule going on for quite some time, really. But having said that, I've been stopped loads of times at MCM from taking pictures by security and by MCM's own staff. So, it's not as if this is a one-off or an unusual incident.
Yeah. So,
it's just one of those things, basically. And, you get stopped and you can see somebody doing exactly the same thing 5 feet away from you, and they're not. And they just pick on random people to stop, basically.
Yeah, and there's nothing I can say that can either like defend that nor go against, because one, I'm not being stopped really myself, but it is weird they stop you. And the one thing I do want to pick up, and this is the first point I really want to pick up, because especially Johnny, who has mentioned about his light stands and all that, so we'll start with him first. It's like, I think I saw this at the last MCM London in October 2023. There is a rule that says no light stands and things like that, and yet I see them everywhere. I did get corrected when I kept seeing the ones outside. I went, "Hang on, it says no lights on. Why are they outside in the forest area, the outside area?" And I went, "Oh, no, that rules is mainly for the inside." I went, "Do you know what? That makes more sense now, because you don't want to create a trip hazard, or you want to block it."
You say that, but I was stopped from using a light stand in the trees.
Okay.
By MCM.
Right. Okay. Right. Well.
So that doesn't follow.
No, that doesn't follow. The point I was getting to is that I went, okay, well, that does make sense that it's, you don't want to block entrances or things like that. You don't want to create a hazard or anything like that. And yet, I saw at the corner of my eye and then took a closer look. There was, with it, okay, I will admit this is in the ticketing hall area, a bank of photographers with light stands there. Okay, it's out of the way. It's not in the way of people, but it's there. And I just said to myself, hang on, who's enforcing the rules here now? If you're not going to enforce it, why have this rule? And I know I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but again, this filters in with this air of like, well, this rule doesn't apply to me. Like, no, it does. It's like, just because you can get away with it doesn't mean you're okay to do it. So it just annoys me like that. So
were they like normal photographers like ourselves, or were they actually MCM or MCL photographers who's actually recording stuff for their own media?
Yeah, so I don't know, if I'm honest, but if I had to take an educated guess from what I saw, they weren't wearing any like MCM clothing to say I'm with the organization. To me, it looked like there were photographers like you and me and Kev.
Yeah, MCL have one of their own photographers, and then they have CJ's and Brandon as their videographers. So that the team is just the three of them. So yeah, and well, CJ's and Brandon definitely don't use stands of any sort. So I'm not sure about their photographer. I can't remember.
Mm.
If it was allowed or not, for me personally, if it was myself, I would not set up my light stands inside because I know that my lights are worth quite a lot of money. So if anyone does trip over it, because it's so crowded inside, I would not risk having my lights falling down and who's going to pay for it if they do break. So I'll rather set up outside, but I'd normally set up outside the other side of the fence of the convention. So yeah.
No, that's fine. But I mean, hearing what I've just said about like the rules that you're not have lights and things like that, can you see where I'm getting a bit annoyed by us photographers who like seem to be like, what's the word? Taking the like really pushing that limit a little bit. I mean, I say pushing that they've gone over that limit because I remember doing it just popped into my head. I was doing Instagram Live at MCM Birmingham, and there was someone who had a light stand in the middle of the hallway. All right, it was towards the end of the day, and there was hardly anyone about. But again, I just thought, why is no one stopping anyone? It really infuriated me, and I was just like, hang on, what? If enforce this rule or not? Because if you're not going to enforce it, I'm going to start bringing light stands, and then go, well, hang on, you can either you stop me, you got to stop everyone.
I was taking a picture of a group of 4 people just in the halls, no light stand, no lights, just me, my camera, and then 4 cosplayers. And this is in the corridors, not in the hall itself. So it's in the corridors, and security stopped me from doing that. They said, "No, sorry, you can't take pictures out in the corridor." And that was no light stands or anything. That was just me and my camera. So it just and if you're told, you asked to stop, you stop. Think, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I have heard
I
of
want to pick up on that as well. But like, I was re-listening to an old podcast that me and Kev were on, and we were talking about VeeamCon, and we were saying then, like, why are these photographers who are we dominate the. So this is at a Center Parks in Netherlands. We've not got the whole park to ourselves. We do share the space with other patrons who are there for a holiday. But I keep seeing some of these like cosplayers and photographers, and I'm not trying to squarely put the blame all on the photographer on this instant, but we kept seeing, people blocking pathways that were like, you can see like the staff carrying food or trying to get around people and things like that. It's like,
they're struggling to get from the restaurant to the tables to serve people.
Yeah. And the point I made is like, there were some photographers who were just carrying their big umbrellas and walking it opened up, and I was thinking, all right, I know you can see where you're going, but you could clatter someone with that. Or if you hit something without you knowing, like if you damage it, who's to fault, type of thing. And John, I know you said you were shooting past the fence and all that, so you're kind of out of the way anyway. But from what I just said, where do you stand on about where photographers with light stands with these big lights and things like that? Where do you like,
I think I'm a bit more considerate than that, rather than no. It sounds like those people you're talking about, the photographers, just feels like they don't give a shit about anyone. They just care about their own results and what their cosplayers wants. It's a difficult one because, like, for me, I would have consideration. Like, I would not get in anyone's way. If people want to walk past, I would move my stance out of the way just for people to walk past. Because I've seen photographers will be like in the middle of somewhere, people want to get past, they will refuse to move their lights and just carry on doing what they're doing. I have seen those as well.
Yeah, because I will admit, like, oh no, I'm out now. I'm now reformatting the sentences because when you shoot on the bridge, at least you shoot to one side of the bridge, so you still leave a pathway for people to walk up and down. And when I'm like using the stairwells or things like that, or if I do end up blocking an area such as like the stairwell of that bridge area, I always stop and let people go through because then I always say this: we're blocking you. You're not interrupting us. We're interrupting you. We're at fault here. I always put my hands up and say, I'm at fault because this is, I know where we're in a stairwell. It's meant to be stairs. It's not meant to be a photo shoot area.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. That bridge I stand on, you know that little bridge I stand on anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I see there's no people coming behind me or in front of me, I would actually take up the whole bridge. It's not that wide, but I need to set up 2 lights, one on each side. But as soon as I see anyone wanting to get past, straight away I'll be like moving that way. I even apologise to the pedestrians just walking past and say, "Look, I'm so sorry. Now I'll move this out of the way. Just take your time going past." So that's just me being me. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just been considerate, But it sounds like there are a lot of people, like you said, the people who feels not the word entitled, but I think they are more like the new generation photographers, where they don't seem to know the rules as well as we do. Because like as photographers, has this like unwritten rule, don't we? Sometimes where you can't charge, you should do this, you should do that. You can't like just fit in with the rest of the people rather than trying to take over and say, yeah, I'm this and I'm that and I can do this and I can do that. It doesn't work that way.
I don't know. I think it is a mixture of new and old because, like I said, us photographers, like us three, we built up our skill set, and then we said this in Kevin when you've bought when you bought your first camera podcast, we did say you eventually start buying more and more equipment. You never really stick to the first camera and that's it. You and the first layer, you just build up your collection of things. You buy an extra lens, you get lights here, lights there. You will get lights down. You might go for those umbrellas type of thing. So,
yeah, but a lot of that is not to use at con.
well, right, okay. So here's the next point, and John, I'm going to pick up a conversation. Oh, actually, no. What was the other thing that Kev said that I was going to say pick up on?
I don't know.
I've forgotten now. Damn it! my sieve brain. I'll hopefully remember later. But there's something that I want to like. I've got this thing in my head, and I find it again so weird. I don't know if you two agree with me, so I'll let any of you two like jump in on this. I feel like sometimes I see other photographers trying to make the environment. They try to change the environment to suit their own need, rather than work with the environment. Like I choose not to use lights. I just choose to use natural light because one, I don't want to carry big bulky lights anyway with me. I want to be able to be mobile, going from one location to another location, things like that. And I don't want to be carrying like collapsing the umbrella and moving it about and things like that. But there are times I see other photographers and I do look and see that they've got these lights, they've got these like, I think I swear one time I saw a green screen at times. And
yeah, I've seen green screens as well. I don't understand.
Yeah, and
I think that's more for the Photoshop geeks.
I know, and it still does. Yeah, but it's like bringing these big lights, trying to create a studio-esque experience.
Sounds like me.
yeah, but it's like trying to create the studio-esque experience at a Comic-Con, and I'm thinking, you all know we're at a Comic-Con, right? There's always going to be people about. You're not going to get a 100% clear picture. Even if you did a location shoot, I'm sure there'll be times when something will get in the way and things like that. So I find it, I don't know. I just think people have forgotten it's a Comic-Con. People forget that everyone's going to get more or less the same similar photos from one photographer to another photographer. I don't know. Maybe like I said, I'm alone in this thought. I'm out of my own league when I say this. Like I'm happy to be told I'm wrong.
No, I think this is like the conversation we kind of left off earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So my personal view on this one is like, for me as a photographer, I like to give it my best. It's one way to advertise myself, but also you've got a lot of cosplayers who spend months, a lot of money, dedication to designing their costumes, making themselves look good, awesome props and everything. They would want the best pictures they can get from a Comic Con because they might. There's a lot of cosplayers who are shy to approach photographers as well. So you want to give someone the best you can, and everyone goes home with happy. They've got epic content, and it's something that they might not be able to get elsewhere from at home.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've seen a lot of changes because obviously I've been doing this a very long time, and back in when we first started, most pictures were being taken on film, and you hardly ever saw the pictures, and then we had forums, and occasionally the pictures would get posted onto a forum, and then we moved on to digital cameras, but it was just people taking either natural light pictures, or occasionally they'd have a flash gun on top and be taking on-camera flash. And then we moved over to a phase where everybody was doing off-camera flash, and then the next thing was that lots of people using coloured gels on the backgrounds, and you got your silver shutters with a coloured gel on. But I don't know, I was right along with it. I was taking my flashes along. I was going to be lighting somebody with a strobe, and perhaps colouring a background with another strobe with a gel on it. And so things have progressed. As equipment's become more readily available, then what people have been taking at cons has changed, and what people have been, as you're saying, the cosplayers' expectations, I think, have raised as well. So I do think things have changed, and there's a lot more people now doing a lot more interesting pictures, rather than just here's somebody in the hall in front of all the stalls with everybody else around them. But it doesn't mean that's the only way to do things. But I do think that I saw a post on Facebook somewhere about MegaCon Live again, where somebody was asked, saying that they used to go to a con and they'd be stopped by photographers all the time asking for photos, but that doesn't seem to happen anymore. Because I think even the way a lot of photographers approach con now isn't necessarily just rocking up and taking pictures. It's doing things like book. Well, Eddie, you do bookings, don't you? For most of the times when you're at con. So I just think how a lot of photographers work, not just how they take the pictures, but how they organise who they're going to shoot with, is just evolves, really. Things don't have to be done in exactly the same way that we always did them in the past.
Fascinating thing to listen to.
Yeah, so also I think for me, if I can create the picture on the back of my screen, it saves me a lot more editing time. So that's why when you see like people bring their green screens and everything, I'll guarantee you they'll spend hours and hours just to edit a couple of pictures. Whereas if I could get it back on the screen, it takes me 10-15 minutes to edit a picture most. So that saves me a lot of time.
I long for the day to able just to edit a photo in just 5-10 minutes. I wish I could go back to those days. Oh man, do you know what? Sometimes I've got to do a podcast about my editing process so that people understand how I do things. No, quite interesting.
Is that now your expectations of what your picture should look like?
Exactly. Yeah, I know. Like I said to you, like I've said many times on this podcast, when I've released a photo, when I've edited, I know that was the best I could do at that moment, at that time. But if I look at it in 2-3 years' time, I will look back at it. Oh my God, I didn't see this, I didn't do that, because I think from that point onwards, I would have gained more skills or a different perspective on something, and then gone, oh yeah, I do things differently now. So it will be interesting in, like I said, 2-3 times that the photos I'm editing now, that I've gone, for me my best work. I wonder if I'll ever look back at it and go, oh my God, why did I do it that way?
But actually, that's a good thing. Do you think any of your best work is actually from cons?
Well, this is the next point I was trying to get to with Johnny's point that I was alluding to. So I will admit, this is a very recent thing that's come to my mind, and I think I've been wrestling with this idea without an answer until recently. I was like looking at my photos and thinking, what can I do to make my work stand out even more? And then it hit me. It's not it's to stop taking photos at Comic-Con in a sense. Now, I'm not saying I'm stopping Comic-Con photography or something like that. I think, as Kev is alluding to, I think some of my best work is not done at Comic-Con. Yes, there are some great photos I've taken. I have taken some great photos. But sometimes when the photos I've done on location, either in the middle of a city, at a designated studio, or an area where maybe I shouldn't have been there or not, things like that. I sometimes think, wow, I'm being more creative, I've got more control over the environment and there. And I think to myself, and this is going back to my original point about why are people trying to bend the environment to their needs at a Comic-Con environment? Like, why don't you just do a location shoot? Why don't you just organize that? I'm not saying people shouldn't take photos at Comic-Con. Far from it. I'm just saying, when you've done your photos at Comic-Con, if you like your photos, Why don't you take it up again and say work with that photographer at a location? Yes, sometimes it's hard for a cosplayer to book a photographer on location and vice versa. It's always a two-way street, and and it takes a lot of planning and things like that. And I understand that at a Comic-Con, you've all paid to be at that one location at the same time. I totally understand that. Organization is hard, but it's worth the effort when you get the results. But yeah, to your point, Kev, I think some of my best work, especially recently, has not been at Comic-Con. It's been away from Comic-Con.
So I'm in the same situation right now. So there is a few people I really want to work with, but the only problem is they live like near as far as Newcastle. Now to arrange a shoot with them is almost like an impossible task. Now first it costs a lot of money to travel down, or for me to travel up in the first place. Whereas if you just happen to sim at Comic Con and it's someone you really want to work with, you I kind of like take that as an opportunity. Right, let's try to get the most epic results we can while we've got this part of the environment, if that makes sense.
100%, totally get it. I think I am fortunate that one, I have a car. Two, I'm in central London, so transport links are quite easy for me. But I used to live in Suffolk, and I used to drive up to Manchester to do photo shoots. So there's part of me that I can sympathise and understand. On the other hand, there's a part of me that goes, sorry, mate, I think there is a car. I'm assuming you drive?
I do drive, and I have driven up to as far as Leeds. Manchester, I've been there before,
Yeah.
but that drive, you're gonna think, right, it's about 5 hours drive, possibly from where I am. It's about 5.5 hours drive.
Yeah, no.
You're not gonna go there on the same day, do a shoot, and come back the same night. So you've got to think about hotels. That means like more outgoing.
Oh, absolutely. But I would say, can you imagine the results that you could get, or the opportunity you get from it? I'm just saying, but yeah, that's just the thought. Kevin, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say that obviously, I've had run-ins with security at Comic-Con on numerous occasions, and I've pretty much stopped going there to take pictures anymore. So what I tend to do is when I go to a Comic-Con now, it's a network opportunity for me. I can go see cosplayers I haven't seen for a while, see new cosplayers, make connections, organise to have them come and see me some other time. Either for a location shoot or in the studio itself, or perhaps shoot them later on that day outside of a con. It's just I've been stopped so many times from taking pictures at cons. I've just basically given up, which is a bit sad. But there are other events. It doesn't have to be Comic-Con, or it doesn't have to be organising just for you and the cosplayer. There's things like Secret Con, which isn't a con as such. It's just a bunch of cosplayers and a bunch of photographers at a location, and that's, I think, a more useful way to make some great images than actually just trying to get them on the bridge or in the car park or between the trees or in front of a boat, or the usual locations around MC, well, around Excel, or around the lake, or in the park, or in the halls at Birmingham. So it's just one of those things, isn't it? So I've fallen out of love with taking pictures at some of the big Comic-Cons now.
Which is fair. It's a fair comment. And also just to say that just because you get stopped by security at a Comic-Con event doesn't mean you won't get stopped anywhere else. Because again, I mentioned in the MegaCon Live podcast review that I've got an example where I've got stopped by security at Canary Wharf, because though it's public land, it's not public land. It's actually still privately owned.
It's private property, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And also because you've got buildings there that are identifiable and could be copyrightable, it then becomes a commercial shoot. So they've got to be they're also protecting their own interest about where these photos may end up, or the involvement of the photo type of thing. So obviously, if you're shooting,
I was going to say, plus we've all seen the story of cosplayers with fake weapons going down Canary Wharf. So what happens then?
Yeah, let's keep that. Let's keep it on the down low. Keep it friendly. Keep it friendly. But yeah, no, exactly those type of things. So yeah, so you still got to be very careful about these things. But I'm just Johnny. I mean, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to like tell you you can't shoot at a Comic Con. Like I said, I will still always do a book shoot at MCM London because I know the environment, know the layout, and I will do my best. Like you said, to get the best photos out of it. But sometimes I do look at my photos and think I can do better than this. And until recently, I went how, and I couldn't think how until I went, oh my god, I need to take them out to like studio shoots or on location because I think that's where I can make the better photos. I mean, do you get where I'm coming from, Johnny?
Oh no, I totally understand. But for me, it's like like I said, I'll used to work 13 hours a day. I'll get Mondays off and Tuesdays off only, and I don't get a lot of time to travel around to arrange shoots and things like that. So for me, Comic Con is just the only time for me to get some good pictures. But don't get me wrong, I get a lot of epic shoots location wise because you got all the time in the world. You can pick a location, pick a spot at your own time, at your own speed. Whereas Comic Con is a bit more rushed. You got time slots, so you have to follow by a time in case you're going to be late, someone's running late. And then, yeah, but I'll just make the best out of the situation at a time because I know that I'm not going to be able to shoot locations with everyone with like, the amount of days off I get in a week, if that makes sense. So I would just do the best I can at Comic Con and shoot, especially like said people who live far away I can't shoot with. So I'll try and give them the best content I can on the day.
I find that's actually a very good point you're just making there about about time for shooting somebody. I that's the other thing I feel guilty with when I was taking pictures at Comic Con about holding somebody up too long. I know some photographers seem to organise to shoot somebody and they're there for about half an hour or more, and I just can't do that. I just feel guilty that they've come all the way to a Comic Con, and I'm just taking your valuable time for trying to get some shots. I'm bam, bam, bam. It's done. Thank you. Just because I feel guilty for holding them up.
Yeah, so all mine are books now. Whereas, like, no, my first couple of years, I met some people. The second year, I shoot with the same people with a couple of new people. Third year, I'll be shooting with the same people I shot for the first 2 years. And then third year, I'll be doing exactly the same. I'm thinking, hang on, I'm just shooting with the same people all the time. I need to meet some new people. So that's when I started doing time slots. And look, I can do a few regulars and then maybe walk around. At a time, I didn't have that much equipment. I could walk around, find some new people to take photos of, and then like, here's my business card. Let's do a shoot next time, and that's how I progress. And now I do time slots, but all my time slots about 20 minutes or half an hour. Just make sure that everyone gets enough good content. So I'll do probably about between 10 to 18 shoots. I managed to do 18 last time at MegaCon, but normally I'll do about 10 to 12 shoots. And I've heard photographers did about 40, 50 shoots. I was like, bloody hell, how'd you do that?
Let's this way. So when I did SecretCon last time, I did 6, and that was my full day because I definitely could not do 50. That's for sure. How many do you do in a day, Eddie? When you do say an MCM or something?
Let's not. Don't call me out like this. I don't like this. I was sitting here quietly, just doing my own business. I did count this the other day, and I've forgotten. I'm gonna look at October. These are the ones that are the plan shoots. Okay, all my plan shoots. This is not including anything that I caught along the, caught anyone on the day that weren't part of my schedule shoot. So here we go. Fridays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 there. Saturday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's 21. Sunday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I did 30 shoots over a 3-day weekend of planned shoots.
Yeah, but that's not a terribly high number. That's spread over 3 days. So that's not extreme, is it?
It doesn't seem extreme because, like I said, I plan shoots and I work out my times and things like that. But no, the holding up of people again. Going back to my original question of art because of becoming, I do see some photographers who do like to hold on to people for so long, for like hours on end. And I know quality over quantity is definitely a thing. I'm not suggesting that if you spend with a photographer 2 hours, you should get 200 photos. If out of those 2 hours you only get 2 photos out of it, they may be the 2 best photos. Totally understand that. Totally agree with that method. But sometimes I do think, not being funny, that cosplayer could have like been working with 10 other photographers and they could have got more content for their cosplay. Like, I understand the process of trying to get the best photo. Johnny, you know, I'm not trying to pick on you, but when you say I'm trying to do my best work, I'm trying to get the best for the cosplay from, based on their cosplay, I agree with you 100%. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, there are some photographers I've gone, why have you held on to this person for so long? I would love to got them survive. My photos, I know they're not the best, but I like to think they're content ready to go on social media. They're not all perfect, but they're all good enough.
Well, I only get to shoot one day at each con, so I can only go on a Sunday. And normally with my lot, I think they know. I would let them know beforehand that my slots are normally between 20 minutes to about 20 minutes on average. So if they've got a time, tell them what time they want to come to me, and I will give them that time slot. So I don't hold on to people. If they want to go, they can go. But people do, once they've seen a few results from the way how I shoot, the reaction you get from them as well is quite satisfying, because like you can see that real natural smile, and that they really like the picture, and they don't want to leave. Sometimes it's not me holding on to them. Sometimes they don't want to leave because they're getting good content.
I know. Like I said, it's not. Like I said, I'm inventing this narrative where it feels like it's the photographer that's holding the cosplayer. You're absolutely right. It could be the cosplayer taking up the photographer's time. So again, it's flipped the other way. Why is this one cosplayer taking up the photographer's time? This photographer might want to be spending their time with lots of cosplayers, not just with the 2 or 3 that they end up working with for that day. Do you get? So yeah, definitely a two-way street. That idea.
This also could be some, like I said earlier, some cosplayers are shy to approach photographers. I don't know if every photographer has a time slot. You get a lot of them that, a lot of photographers walking around with it looks like they haven't got anything organized. So, but then you see photographers scared to approach a cosplayer, and you see cosplayers scared to approach a photographer. So maybe there are some who, like I said, who are shy to approach a photographer. If they do get a shoot, they'll hang on to it to hope they get more content, because they might be shy to approach another photographer or not get asked.
Yeah, no, I do not disagree with that, absolutely. Because again, I think I put up a quote, no, a question on Instagram. I've got one today. I've been so busy at work. But basically, I did ask, why would anyone pay for a photographer at a Comic-Con knowing it's not allowed? And some did reply to say, it's because it's the only time I get to shoot with a photographer. Because sometimes they've been so busy, it's the only way I'm going to get seen by a photographer. I was like, oh, that is actually really, like, I want to use unhumbling. I don't know what the word is I'm trying to think of, but it's like, oh, that's really horrible to hear that. That's the only way you're going to get seen and get to work with a photographer, because either you don't think you're good enough, or there's such a busy photographer and things like that. It's just, yeah.
I'm not sure.
No, like I said, yeah. But like I said, it's like, there's another thing that just popped into my head about this whole subject I'm bringing up. It's like, I'm going to keep this person anonymous, because it was said in we were just having a friendly debate. But going back to this incident we were talking about, and because I was seeing it trying to look from the outside, and it was spoken to me, spoken, I say, it didn't happen to you. This is why you have this viewpoint. I went, yeah, you're right. It didn't happen to me, so therefore I have this viewpoint. But because I wasn't defending the photographer outrightly of that incident, I was told I wasn't helping the cause. I'm like, what cause? Like, you're not helping your fellow photographers. So I went, oh,
What?
yeah. So
yeah,
basically,
loads of times, as we said before. So,
because
should I be kicking off a big fuss and trying to get the whole of the the community around me?
Yeah, and it got me thinking. It's like, this is what I'm thinking. Am I in the wrong here? am I here? So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I was like, it put me on the back foot a little bit. I was thinking, oh, hello. Am I not allowed to have my own opinion? Do I have to share this same opinion about this incident with everyone? Like, again, I don't really want to call people out on this, but I saw photographers who were commenting on the situation who weren't there. And I understand you've got to stand up for your other photographers if an incident happens. But I sometimes worry, sometimes we jump on a bandwagon without getting the full story. And I'm glad I didn't say anything until I got the full story. Like, yeah, I could have kicked off and said, oh my God, security here by MidCon Live were rubbish. It wasn't MidCon Live security, it was Excel. Oh my God, they were horrible. They had reason why they were stopping photographers, but they were heavy-handed with their stuff. So I can say I like to think objectivity that yes, they were like this, but because of that and because of this, I like to think that. But clearly, everyone, I don't know. Do you get what? Do you know where I'm coming from? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I feel a bit, yeah.
But was this the photographers moaning about it, or is this cosplayers moaning about
No,
it?
this incident was with a fellow photographer.
Oh, okay.
But I did hear like other cosplayers going up to security or going to the security office and really like laying into them kind of thing. I don't know how true that is, so please do not take that as verbatim. That happened or not. I'm just saying I heard this. But yeah, I was just like, I think I got a little perturbed about. Is it perturbed? Is that the right word? So that's what stopped me thinking. I got
Perturbed,
a little,
yeah.
yeah,
perturbed. You're a bit concerned.
Oh yeah, good. I was like perturbed about how others jumped on a situation. They don't know the full story, especially those who weren't on the at the event. So I was just like, again, am I just being too sensitive? Maybe.
Well, for me, I think I got a message from Saturday because I wasn't there on Saturday, and from all the cosplayers saying that the security is really hard on the photographers. They're not allowing professional stuff in there. For me, at the time, I thought, why? What's going on? But I didn't know MegaCon. There was other exhibitions going on around. I think there was DragCon going on, and there was this Disney thing going on. I didn't know all that until I turned up on Sunday, and then that's when I got explained to that because of all this other stuff going on, in case some photographer happened to take photos of him, like not what they're supposed to take off, because there's like kids around, there's different conventions around. That's what I was told, and that's what when I was a bit more understanding, because like the MCO did not hire out the whole place except for the 5 halls that you were talking about. So I kind of understood it on a day then, and I come to like accept what was going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, taking a step back, just to look at the whole situation. I just think it's sometimes warranted at times. Rather, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that if something bad happens to you, you stop and just think about it before you go on social media. Like, clearly, if it happened to you, you're going to put a message up. I totally understand that. It's going to be your first reaction. You want to tell others, just in case you want to inform others. But I think if you're looking out in, I think sometimes us photographers just need to take a little step back and just think, hang on, what is the reason why this happened? Like, no one seemed to question to say, well, are they doing it because, something they've updated their rule books and we didn't know about it? Have things changed that we weren't informed about? Because no one. I don't think anyone's going to look up the Excel website and go, "Hey, we've updated what you can shoot at our exhibition hall now, and you need to do this now." I'm going, "Oh, okay then." And
because I was saying I've stopped a few times. That's because of those sort of things. That they kept updating their requirements of what photographers could and couldn't do, and not being very good at actually communicating that, shall we say? But yeah, but like I said, I can understand it from the other side as well. If you're actually one of the cosplayers or one of the photographers, you've travelled, as you're saying, from if you're halfway up the country or something, you've had to pay for a hotel room overnight to stay at the con. It's quite an expense to go to. Well, especially MCM, which is can be incredibly expensive these days if you're not a Londoner. And then you get there and you're ready for your photo shoot, and all of a sudden, no, sorry, I can see how that could be upsetting. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people then jumping on it who weren't even at the con is a different thing entirely.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to call those people out, but I did think, why are you jumping in on a situation you don't know about? You're not. I don't know. They could have been informed, but So yeah, I was just a bit like I said, just concerned. What was the other thing, guys? This is talking about the rules and all that. And I said, oh, does anyone look at the Excel website? I've continually said their rules are on their website, just no one goes out their way to say it. And this is the argument I was having with this fellow photographer. I said, they are rules, they are there. I said, where? It's on the website. No one's going to look at that. Well, that's not their fault then. Because it's... Because who reads the terms condition on anything they buy online? No one. But it's there. It's there. It's your fault if you don't read it. We just take it in blind faith. It's going to be okay. But if your blind faith tells you that something happened, you went, oh, I didn't realize I was going to repossess my soul. I'm not suggesting people are going to start reading the terms and conditions as well. But I'm just saying that just because you didn't know a rule doesn't mean that that'll get you off the hook.
I went to a convention. This is quite extreme, but I went to a convention once with a press pass. And when you went to pick up your press pass, they got a form for you to read through and sign. And so normally I wouldn't bother reading it. You just sign the bottom and collect your press pass. But I was just reading through it, and it was saying that the convention owns all your photos. I'm thinking, well, fuck, it does. So I refused to pick up my press pass. And it was just saying in the terms and conditions. And like I said, normally, as you're right, you just don't bother reading these things. And then you're thinking, hang on a minute, how come they're using my pictures? I didn't give them permission to do that. And then you think reading back through, well, it was in the terms and conditions. So
yeah,
and are they allowed to do that?
Well, if it's in the terms and conditions and you're signing to say, by accepting this press pass, you're giving the rights to these photos to the event. Yeah, you've signed to say you've accepted it. No, it's your fault if you don't bother reading it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's very extreme. I should say
absolutely.
That is quite extreme.
It's really interesting that AnimeCon UK. I don't know if there's a coincidence or not, but they released something to say, if you're going to be taking photos here, we have a set of guidelines you need to read and sign, and we'll give you a wristband or something to signify you have read the rules, understood it, and you'll abide by it. If you read the rules, it's exactly the same thing as any other convention that more or less has Comic-Con, MCM, MegaCon Live, Showmasters, Wales Comic Con, all the same. And it's really interesting that AnimeCon UK are going out of the way just to make sure it's understood by everyone. So it's great that a con like that is willing to do that. But going back to my original point about reading the terms and conditions, it's that I always constantly say, you can't sell at a Comic-Con. Here's the reason. Here it is. And people keep telling me, oh, how much do you charge for a Comic-Con? Those who don't know, man. I went, you're not supposed to charge. Here's the rules for it. If anyone's charging, show them this. Alert the organisers about it. That is it. End of story. And I don't know. But I feel like we've spoken for an hour now, and I feel like, well, I say we've spoken for an hour. On this topic, about 45 minutes. We've been speaking for an hour, but on this topic, about 45 minutes. I feel like we've not got any closer to the answer. Are photographers becoming ... Do we, between the three of us, from what we just discussed, what we just said, I know a lot of it's quite negative, but I like to think that there are still good photographers out there who won't charge, who are not, who are following the rules, don't carry light stands, or maybe do carry light stands. Like Johnny, he carries light stands, but he's outside of the perimeter, so in a sense, those rules don't apply to him technically. But
from what I know, is XL owns pretty much the whole of that era, but anything from that bridge onwards, they don't own. So that's why I shoot on the bridge, because they can't say anything to me. That's from what I know.
You're going to have all the bridge now full up with people with umbrellas and lights.
No, but it's a bit like, was it the one in Birmingham? Is that all photographers hang out in the gallery area, don't they?
You say that, but I've been blocked from shooting in the gallery as well
Really?
by security, saying it's not permitted. So
how long ago was this?
That was about 6-7 years ago.
Oh, damn. I don't know that. I think I've only been
Yeah.
to one MegaCon in Birmingham, and I've been
Right.
told just go to the gallery. I was like, okay, I'll go up there. It is like lightning to storm up there, so it's like flashes left right there. I went, yep, I'm at the right place.
Yeah, but like I said, they just change their mind from year to year, and it just depends on what security you're feeling like. Like I said, I've been stopped from shooting just in the main corridors because they say, nope, sorry, you can't shoot here. You can only shoot in the halls. And then going outside, sorry, you can't shoot outside. This is still our property. You need to go back into the hall and shoot just in the hall. It's ridiculous. Like I said, just different rules, different years, different cons. So you'd always find something that's changed and catches you out.
This could be just sometimes the security just want to take the matters in their own hand and make up their own rules.
Well, true, absolutely. But like I said, I think though at a lot of these convention centres, they're not used to having something where it's going to get absolutely full of people taking pictures. It's rather an unusual event in that way. The only other event I think at Birmingham which has quite that number of photographers, if it's not something which has cosplayers, is the photography show.
Oh, do not get me started on the photography show.
When the photography show and the Comic-Con clash, my God, that's bad.
It is.
Yeah. And security just give up, basically.
Just thinking about it infuriates me. Anyway, so let's go back to the original thought. This is literally the death knell of my career. No one's going to talk to me now. No photographer's going to talk to me. But are we becoming a bit entitled about how we go about with our photography hobby, really? Because the other day, there's only one photographer thing who's proclaimed themselves to be a professional cosplay photographer. I only do that because they're charging, and it really infuriates me. But besides
There
that,
used to be a couple that charges from what I know, and I have heard, this is going back about 5-6 years ago as well, though, that people were paying a couple of photographers, and I didn't know what the rules were then, so that was all quite new to me. But from what I know is that you're not supposed to, because like a public place where everyone's already paid.
I assume it's something to do with liability and things like that, and also, let's face it, it might be that the organizer wants a cut of their share as well, because you can buy.
I think it's more a case of the organization thinks they're losing out on some money, more than anything else.
Because you can buy a license from the organizer, like MCM says, if you pay £500, you're free. But who's going to pay £500 and then somehow recoup that £500 somehow on the con floor? So,
but you're also allowed to take pictures and sell them to the press. So you're not taking money from the cosplayers, but you can actually sell the pictures.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about photographers selling.
That's a different thing entirely.
That's a completely different thing. From what we were saying, and like I said, there are lots of good eggs out there, and not bad. In my opinion, bad traits, bad attributes to a photographer. And like I said, I don't know if it's something that's been brewing for a long time now, or is it just something that I'm starting to notice and it's always been there, or is it something that's it's only starting to develop now because we've been doing this for so long that things are now starting to catch up with us now?
Or possibly it's just there's a churn of photographers and people don't know what's happened in the past and have got, like I said, assumptions of what they can and can't do, and those assumptions aren't always right. That doesn't mean you're necessarily entitled or whatever. It just means that you're just not aware that there might be issues.
Yeah, I don't know enough photographers from this little group, and I only know a few people, so yeah, I'm my own little man, one man band. I'm in my own little world.
That's the other thing, isn't it? As well, you sometimes now see teams of photographers, which is a different thing as well, and that is making it even more interesting. I wish I'd got a team.
Oh, don't, yeah. The amount of times I wish I said, oh, if only someone could just hold this light for me, like literally freestanding light, just hold it here.
There's always got to be one that rules it for the rest of them, though, don't there? Anything. There's always
we're talking about the majority of people. I think the majority of people are fine, but you're always going to get one or two which make a mountain out of a molehill, perhaps.
I'm happy that, my views are not completely agreed with. Sometimes I need to be told, I need to be kept in check that, my views can be wrong and things like that. And maybe I am overreacting a little bit to this thought that our photographers becoming a bit, entitled and things like that. I still think there's something brewing that if it's not kept in line, kept in check, that it could overspill a little bit. So, yeah. Anyway, look, we're going to end the podcast here. We're going to switch over very quickly to the podcast extra. We're going to, right. I think I've mentioned this world tour of Manchester, and let's talk. We're going to talk a bit about that, and hopefully we can entice Johnny to maybe come out of his shell a little bit, kind of like do his own days, or come and join me and things like that. Anyway, but on that note. Exactly. There we go. Right. On that note, I'm going to do links. So, alphabetically, Johnny, where can they find you on the social medias?
You can find me on Instagram under Johnny Sham Photography. I think I might have changed it recently, but I'm still under Johnny Sham. That's about it, really. That's the main place I'll be at. So,
fantastic. No, that's fine. It's no problem. Kev, where can they find you on the social medias?
My regular website for normal photography stuff is Kevin Pack Photography, and my cosplay stuff is cosplay.co.uk. But I've said this on so many podcasts now. I'm in the middle of updating the website, so I still need to finish it off. But I don't know how many times I've said that now. It'll get done one day.
One of these days. If people need to find me on the social medias, if you go to foodandcosplay.org/links, you'll find all my social media links, such as Threads, Twitter, Instagram, or the usual. Go to foodandcosplay.org/podcast. You'll find previously recorded podcasts that I've recorded with Kev, other guests, with other topics, if I haven't been cancelled by other photographers or anyone else. If you go to foodandcosplay.org, generally you'll find daily cosplay photos that I've uploaded from both Comic-Con and location shoots and studio shoots. Just a little hint there, Johnny. Oh, nothing?
Everything's coming to my Instagram. Trust me, you got to see all different weird shit on there. Cosplays of stuff too. Yeah, no, I won't go any deeper.
Oh, fair enough. And if you go to patreon.com/foodandcosplay, you'll hear the podcast section with these two. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the studio day I did recently in Manchester. So on that note, I'm going to say bye. They're going to say goodbye. So bangers!
Bye.
Bye.
Please don't cancel me.